Well, Property Tribes is on location at the NRLA Conference 2024. We are at Birmingham NEC and I'm joined by NRLA CEO Ben Beadle. And Ben, first of all, I have to say, you surpassed yourself last year. Well, we have to say the team.
Yes, quite.
And just coming today to the NEC and seeing the scale of this event this year, it's gone up yet another league. Amazing.
It has, and I think we've sort of scared ourselves a little bit because I was here yesterday thinking, crikey, how on earth are we going to fill this place? But fill it we did, and it's been a great day. It's been a really, really great day, and I think that what I'm seeing is far more positivity in the face of adversity than anything else. Members that are really engaged with what the organisation is doing on their behalf, and realistic about the challenges that we face.
Indeed, and that's really what the kind of theme of the event is all about, to help equip landlords ahead of the Renters' Rights Bill coming into full effect, maybe next spring, early summer. And you've had a very busy morning programme. For people that couldn't be here today, could you share some of the highlights of what was, some of the things that were shared?
Yeah, well, we have Nick Knowles hosting from DIY SOS, who's a great guy, totally authentic, and what you see is what you get with Nick. Also been a landlord previously, so nobody better to host that event. But we went straight in with some of the facts and figures that people want to see, not opinions, but Zoopla. So we had Richard Donnell from Zoopla, who was talking about investment appetite, what the market is actually doing, that we're still looking at around 20 or so applications per property. It's white hot. So yes, I get that there's a lot of concern in the sector, but there's a lot of concern from both renters and landlords. And the thing that comes through, Vanessa, is that constant reminder that, love us or loathe us, government needs landlords to stay in the sector. And I think that's a good thing. And I hope that what we will start to see is a bit more recognition of that as the Renters' Rights Bill makes its passage through Parliament. What we've also seen after Zoopla, we had a great tech discussion, and I was really struck actually. So we asked the question, James Kent asked the question about how many people are using sort of technology to make their life easier, because what we want to get across is that yes, we might be able to have some nips and tucks around renters' rights, but we're not going to be able to stop this from happening. It will happen. So we've got two options. We either stay on the bus and we adapt, or we get off the bus and we do something different. And it was staggering to see just how few people are using some of the tech tools that are out there. By the end of the session, and having listened to James Kahn and others, actually people were much more minded to give a go to some of these platforms. And I really do think we have to put a value on our time. We can't be eager amateurs that gets things wrong anymore. We've got to be better than that. And James Kahn, the way he spoke was wonderful, his story, in terms of starting with borrowing money on a credit card and going from there. But it was resilience in the face of adversity, and that's what landlords have to remember. It's what our sector needs to remember, and I think that people were really struck by James's journey.
That does sound amazing. And just going back to the digital tools, I totally agree with you that there are some amazing tools and platforms out there that greatly simplify a landlord's life, make it more efficient, and the Renters' Rights Bill, whether we like it or not, I think it is forcing landlords to be more professional. And that's actually a good thing.
It is, absolutely. And I think a number of our members want that recognition of that they are professional landlords. They're even working people, dare I say it. And that's certainly come up today from Mr. Quirk and Teresa Wallace as well. It's absolutely right. We are working people, hard-working people, and the sector needs these homes badly, for certain.
Well, we're still seeing councils offering landlords, incentives to hand over properties. It's such a disconnect between what's happening in reality and what the government is trying to do to squeeze our sector.
I agree, and I think if people knew what was going on inside the sausage factory of local authorities actually offering private landlords 150% of LHA for supported living types of contracts, I think people would be furious. But at the same time, it's a crisis of successive governments making. You know, we've got too many kids in temporary accommodation. We've got over 1 million households on social housing waiting lists. But rather than actually deal with the fundamental issue of supply across the whole sector, we choose to pick on the PRS and make it a bit worse. Why do we do that? And why do we put barriers in place like stamp duty that will actually add, if you pass the full additional rate stamp duty onto your tenant over a 10-year cycle on an average property, it will cost £122 extra a month. Now, I get that assumes that the market allows you to do that, because obviously we don't set rents ourselves. But the point is that some people may see the stamp duty changes as being a really positive thing. Actually, they're not. A small demographic of people will benefit from those changes. Rather than stifle investment, we need to encourage investment, because government are not doing it. They don't build houses themselves. They encourage people to build houses and create the framework to do it. And as Nick Knowles said himself, we can do things much more quickly in the private rented sector.
Well, that's true.
Or in the private sector.
Yeah, we're much more fleet of foot. And obviously you're referring to the recent budget. I haven't spoken to you since then, actually. But yeah, the 2% stamp duty. I think, we need a housing sector where people can be mobile, where they can move up and down the property ladder. And that 2% is going to have an impact on landlords. We have heard of some sales falling out of bed.
It'll have an impact on renters.
Well, it will, but it could actually kind of push landlords more to go up north, where there's lower price properties, where it's not such an impact. And then, but we've got serious, supply and demand constraints in the southeast and London. So, yeah, the budget wasn't as bad as I thought, but it was a bit of a sting in the tail.
Yeah, a little bit. I think what the budget says is if you want to leave, and if you want to invest, don't. Well, that's not a very sound strategy as far as I can see, because landlords can vote with their feet, and we have to be careful what we wish for here, because there isn't currently an alternative. We may have tenant groups chuntering from the sidelines about, this is good for first-time buyers. I'm sorry, it may be good for a small number of first-time buyers, but it will be bad for renters in the main. There is nothing in the Chancellor's statement that will go anyway to addressing the supply issues, and the money that they have ring-fenced for affordable housing won't even touch the sides if you have a leaky bucket in the private rented sector.
No, totally. Now, we know that there are some landlords that are exiting because, maybe they were 5 years off and they've just kind of had enough, and this is the final straw. But we also know that there are new landlords coming in. This renters' rights bill will be like the normal to them. They don't know anything else. I think, one of the themes of today is that there's still opportunity, and that new landlords are going to come in and take up some of the slack, and they're going to be more digitally minded as well, so that's going to come naturally to them. So there's lots of things to feel positive about in our sector, not least because we've heard today that they think house prices are going to rise very significantly. That's going to help out landlords as well, who have been struggling on their SVRs with maybe a little bit of negative equity. So we have to look for the positives.
We do, but those positives really aren't there for renters, because actually if you are hoping to turn into generation buy, it may well be that the house price moving moving in that direction, and also some of the difficulties around finance and lending criteria actually precludes you from accessing this market. And what we want to do, we're not anti-aspiration. On the contrary, we want to encourage people to move on and buy their homes. But the best way to do that is with addressing the supply challenges, a thriving private rented sector, investing in social housing, and actually not being in the position where you're better off renting your house back to the council under a long-term lease than going to the market, because that's just robbing Peter to pay Paul. It really is. We need to see investment in social housing and affordable housing. We need to see them take their foot off the throttle neck, or off the necks of people, in terms of encouraging growth and people to stay there. And we need to present that as being really good for our sector, from which landlords will benefit, from which renters will benefit, because it will bring rents down. There's no question about that.
Indeed. Well, just as we kind of wind this up, Ben, because you've got a very busy schedule today, and I only had you for 5 minutes and I've already had longer. We know that it's going to be the informed and educated landlord who plans and starts planning now, who will likely survive what's coming. You have rebranded the training sector of the NRLA. It's now the Training Academy. You have a renters' rights bill training course, which is in very high demand. And I think education for landlords, authentic education for landlords, is going to become even more important going forwards, because there's so much more to take on board.
There is, and we're about to hit 110,000 members at today's event, which is great news. And I would really encourage people to refer friends onto us and get a discount on their membership and their membership renewal as well, because this is such a pivotal moment, Vanessa, not just in terms of training and keeping informed. We will keep people informed by virtue of their membership. What we will also do is put on extra training for those that want it, so that landlords and members and agents can really excel at what they do. And part of our rebrand is to really champion the private rented sector, a responsible private rented sector. And that means keeping ahead of the game, preparing for change, not bleating from the sidelines about when it happens. What we will do from a policy perspective is make this as palatable as possible for the responsible landlord. But change is coming with or without what we do. And so what we also have to do is to offer some solutions about how landlords can feel confident about continuing to stay in the sector if that's what they want to do. And the discussion today with James Kahn and the tech panel that we had was a real eye-opener, with not many people kind of venturing into that world. And I'm not saying it's going to solve all of our problems, but we put value on our time, right? And whether we're doing training or whether we're going out and fixing things, there are tools out there that can make your life easier. And I would encourage people to get involved.
Well, hear. Well, congratulations to you and the team for this amazing event at the Birmingham NEC. That's a little snapshot of what's gone on so far. More to come this afternoon. But for now, Ben, thank you very much for joining me here on Property Tribes TV.
Pleasure.